I think I got it. I'm live. It says I'm live. It says I'm the live. Let's hope that is the truth. All right. How's the chat doing over there, guys? Am I live? Are we live? Hey, it's live. All right. So I got a special guest today. He's the coolest dude that I know because he makes a printer that works on a belt. I think that's the neatest thing ever. So everyone in the chat, I'd like you to welcome Carl with a K from White Knight. Boom. There he is.
Hi,
that's
everybody.
The Carl. Oh, man. And Chris Tilley's here, too, man. We got a whole bunch of people. We got Dave, 3D Jimmy. You know what? I'm going to move the chat over here. So this is the only issue with having like a 40-inch monitor as your main computer screen.
Too many choices.
Yeah, that, and I can't see it all. So there we go. Perfect.
Center myself a little bit more here.
You do that. I am as centered as I'm going to allow myself to be. Move my phone out of here so I don't look at it. So, Carl, give us a little bit of information of what is this printer that you are open sourcing for the world?
Printer? What printer?
Yeah, what is that? Looks like a space
that
machine.
Printer back there?
Yeah, that printer.
Yeah, that's the White Knight. That is the accumulation of. I shouldn't say accumulation. It's the result of a dare, basically.
The best things happen from dares.
Yes, it's the. It literally came down from me and Midnight Giant becoming friends. I was telling him he keeps building these enormous swords, and wait till you see what he's bringing to Earth. But
oh boy,
it's gonna make it just say everything else looks like dwarves.
Well, I already look like one, so I mean, I'm already halfway there.
It makes Mike look like a dwarf.
Oh snap! All right.
Yeah. But anyway, I say, dude, you need something that can print. You're printing these swords in 10, 15, 20, 30 pieces. You need something that you can print them in just a couple.
Yeah.
I was like, you need one of those black belts. He goes, have you seen the price of those black belts? And I was like, yeah. And we started looking a little closer. I'm like, you've got to be able to build that for less. He's like, well, shut up and prove it. I said, and I looked at it and said, almighty dollar. He goes, I want one. Shut up and prove it. And I'm like, okay. And this is what happens when you let a car guy that knows a little bit about 3D printers design a 3D printer.
So you're saying that since I'm a 3D printer guy and I know nothing about cars, I might be able to make a car?
Possibly.
Oh man, that's a challenge. That's so cool because I saw you at Murph and I didn't get to say hello. I was there, but I was only there Friday. And you were super busy. I mean, Joel was over there. You had like the biggest crowd. And it was awesome. I mean, I at least got to look at the printer and I got to see it and I was like, this is cool. And then I got to hear about it. Because again, I didn't get to ask anything. I didn't know anything about it because you were probably the busiest person at Murph. Besides maybe the Railcore and Tool Changer people. So, and those are all like hot ticket, mass media. Everyone knows about those things. You, on the other hand, were like, I'm bringing this crazy thing to Murph. And it was awesome. So what does it do? What is a belt printer for everyone who doesn't know?
Belt printer, basically, in this case, I took a Core XY printer. I took the X and Y axis and I dropped it on a 45 degree. And by putting on a 45 degree, lets me print basically on the edge of the print the whole time.
Okay.
So that the belt can continue to advance, giving you the ability to do that infinite Z, or at least as big as any room you can put it in.
See, now in my brain, it makes sense. Someone asked me, Eric in our Prusa Facebook group, he asked me why 45 degrees. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, why 45 degrees? Why not just 90? And I'm like, wait a minute. You can't continually print the same print unless you really want to move that belt around all the time to print one long print. That would get really annoying.
I mean, you could 90. I imagine you could get really close to it, but the problem you run into, and the reason you put the 45 is you have to get some bed contact.
Yeah.
So you can keep moving at a 90 degree. Yeah, if the belt's going this way and the nozzle's here, yeah, you could try and get it at just that perfect sweet spot to where the nozzle came and touch the edge of the belt, but that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the 90 would make more sense for people who want to print one small part and like push them out in production.
Yeah, or you could do perpendicular too.
Yeah, so instead of, the 45 makes sense because you have the Infinite Z and you can still do a little part at a time.
And the other reason everybody's going with the 45, from what I understand, this is just a few conversations I've had with Bill Steele, is Stratasys or MakerBot still owns the patent on assembly line printing. So if you run a regular printer and you print on a belt and then advance the belt out and print the next piece, that's still covered under their copyright. That's where they really get you on their copyright. By printing on the 45, so you're not really printing on an X. It's a hybrid YZ. It's not a typical printer, so it kind of loopholes the patent. And I still say I made this not so much to do automation printing and assembly line printing. I just wanted to print really big stuff. Unfortunately, I printed stuff so big I can't fit it in here.
You need my basement.
Yeah, I do.
And we answered, someone just asked, actually, it looks like Shikyo Yo-Yo Jojo asked the exact question, why 45 instead of 90, besides the infinite length. And it makes sense. You could do it at 90. It just doesn't, in my brain now, it makes sense. It's not optimal for that stuff.
And you do lose one other cool feature of a 45-degree angle printer. And I wish I had a picture or a video I need to do a video of printing one. That the Power Belt 3D guys had a print they were showing. It was basically, let's see if I can find something using an example here. You could print this block on the belt going like this.
Yeah.
Then you could have this overhang. Once you've made contact with the belt, you could continue to print this overhang pretty much until you got to the point where there was too much weight, then it would start to pull the print off the belt.
Oh, that's pretty darn cool.
Well, the nice thing about the 45 is you can do free overhang without support, because it's going to just keep writing on that edge and come all the way out. I've done prints where it went up, across, and back down and came back down to the bed again with no support in the middle.
I need a white knight printer. It's gonna be my goal. As soon as you finalize this, I'll be one of your first 100 customers. You just sold me again on that, because I'm like, wait a minute, I can print in the air? What? Yeah, sold. Oh man, that's pretty cool. So how long did it take, like from idea to a working prototype? What was your time frame? What was that like?
Way faster than it probably should have been. I think me and Midnight Giant went through our chat one time and figured out when he challenged me to do it. And I want to say the first STL file I created starting on it was something like October 2nd before Murph. So October 2nd last year, basically a year ago.
Oh, wow.
On this.
And Murph was March?
Yeah, and I had the first prototype done and completely done, and it printed solid for that early reveal. What was that, February, like a month before?
Yep.
I think it was the end of February. And I said that's caught me totally off guard, because I knew I was showing it to my friends at Printed Solid. I did not realize that Matt and Chris were both live streaming me describe the printer. The moment Chris turned, either Chris or Matt went, "Hey, we've got some questions from the chat." And I'm like, what? I was not prepared for that at all.
Don't worry, guys. Today I told him this was a live stream.
Yeah.
It didn't surprise him with that. And thank you again for coming on. This is actually really cool. I didn't get a chat with you, and this is our first real-time chatting. So
no problem.
I've just been more or less sitting in the background, kind of just oogling it, going, make it so I can buy it or make it, because I
yeah. All the files are out there to print.
Yep.
I'm going to say this, and to everyone out there in the audience, if you want to make one, start printing the parts now. If you didn't watch my All About Belts video, I'm giving away one of these stainless steel belts.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, Belt Technologies was nice enough when I ordered the one for the Squire to go. They're going to throw ahead a full-size white knight belt in for me to give away. I'm going to give it away on the Saturday of Earth. And pretty much if you're in the United States, I'm going to ship it to you free of charge. If you're outside the United States and you still want to enter the contest, you're going to have to pick up the shipping, unfortunately, because I can't afford to ship it overseas.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Take you probably more than half of the price of the belt.
Man, I just posted the link to the GitHub downstairs here in the chat, or downstairs on the screen. So hopefully people head over to the GitHub and check out all the files, because this is open source. So if you guys didn't know, you can print and make this yourself. Carl is nice enough to give all the files to everyone to bring this to the market, because like we all know that open source means that people can then iterate and maybe fix things or help you on things that you might have. Yeah, and hopefully in the future this means there will be more access to a belt style printer. It's kind of like what Railcore did. They went out and they made this inexpensive Core XY that was super good, and made it open source, but also made it a product. They offered the kit. So are you gonna offer kits? So is that a future?
I've been working with Printed Solid.
Yep,
the whole
I know that
was they were gonna do a kit, and I don't blame them in the slightest. They're making sure they dot all their I's and cross all their T's, making sure there's no chance of any kind of patent infringement.
Dave was saying that. He said that there was some legal stuff they had to look into, because you just mentioned it. I mean, Stratasys apparently owns a patent for a conveyor belt printer.
There's talk that Black Belt has a few patents as well. So, and unfortunately, I have been in contact with Black Belt, based more because of their Cura than anything else. But now, so now they have to be careful, because yes, I do have a line of communication between me and them, however brief it is. So they want to just make sure there's no danger of getting, sued, because, Printed Solid wants to stay in business, and we all want them to.
We all do, yeah. I mean, I buy all my crap from there.
I am working with Dave over there to, at a minimum, get him to take care of the most expensive part of the belt, because if you order one stainless belt, you're going to pay probably twice as much as if you bought two, just because the processing for them to pull the metal down off the rack and set it up and cut it and then fuse it. If I tell everybody that doesn't want to wait, I'm like, go out on Twitter and say, hey, I'm building one. Who wants to get on a group buy for a belt, something? So you're buying at least more than one. So I'm trying to get him to order like 10 from them to have in stock. So at least then everybody's getting the advantage. He bought 10 at once, and now they're only a couple $100 instead of $400.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I remember when Prusa launched, and you could not find replacement magnetic beds. Yeah, and I went to price out just steel. What's that stuff called? Spring steel sheets, and water cut or laser cut, and they wanted like $60 each.
Yeah,
and I was ordering 10, and I was like, but I can buy them with the Ultim from Prusa whenever they decide to sell them for like $30. I'm like, that's insane. Yeah. And finally now we do. BuildTak came out. So I mean, again, it's all about making a product that you can get some quantity on to reduce the cost on things. I know Railcore did the same thing. They, made deals with companies to get X number of parts made, so that way when you get the kit, you get a decent deal. It's not a huge deal. On yours, it sounds like a huge deal, and that's awesome because it's a specialty product.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the belt is the most expensive part of the printer, pretty much. Once you add the stainless steel belt and the custom BuildTak sheet to it, that's roughly $500 of the build, and that's if you get the belt as half of a pair. I mean, everybody gives me a hard time because, and I probably should change it on the BOM. The price I put on the BOM was the price of one belt if you bought two.
Okay, and what is the price total on your White Knight at the moment? With just if I want to buy one belt, what is my? If
you went to buy one belt, you'd be around $2,200.
Okay, I mean that's still for an Infinite Z printer.
2,000, and you're going to tack on another couple $100 if you buy just one belt. If you don't wait for Printed Solid to stock, some in at the price.
And is there a price you're trying to get to on it? Are you trying to source more things? I mean, are you trying to bring that down at all? Or are you happy at that?
Well, I built it at 2,000. The point was to prove I could build a printer with all quality parts and keep it under $2,000. And I don't know what I don't want to profess to know what parts are using a black belt. I haven't seen one up close.
Yeah,
but I was like, just on a slim chance that I'm trying to use high end rails, the Duet, the LDO or E3D steppers, the mosquito hot. I took all the expensive parts and I threw them all in there, and I still didn't break $2,000. And I'm like, okay. You could, if you want, if I keep hoping someone will go ahead and figure out a way to do like a Marlin board in it and make a variant that way. And I'm not good with Marlin, and I love how simple Duet is.
Yeah, it is. I have 2 Duet machines right here, an Ender 5 Duet and my custom Duet, and setting those things up was such a dream. I set up a one at the Makerspace running Marlin, and I was like, yeah. I'm not used to it too. I'm not a coder. I'll throw that out there for the world. I'm not a coder. Nerdy on tech stuff, but.
And I know they are working on a version of Marlin for the Duet.
Yes, that would be pretty cool. But if they can do something like, not to sidetrack, but a lot of people don't know. So Duet, when you set up the firmware, there's a website. And the website literally walks you through, like, hey, what's your XYZ? You type it in. What motors do you have? What type of printer is it? Cartesian, whatever. It's the same kind of thing as Marlin. Marlin, you kind of go through and there's little comments like, hey, what kind of printer is this? But this has been dumbed down to the point where someone who knows nothing about printing but knows like the basic specs of their printer can most likely make a firmware. And that makes it a lot easier. And I'm guessing, it wasn't, was it pretty easy setting up a firmware with Duet for, printer that's Core XY tilted to a 45 degree?
I had one glitch, and it was realizing how Black Belt Cura slices a model.
Okay.
I looked at it, and when you look at the rendering in Black Belt Cura, you see the printer on the belt and everything, and the print goes off in infinite Y.
Yeah.
In my brain not having a belt printer yet, like everyone gives me a hard time. That's not Z, that's Y.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that, you take it and you tilt the X and the Y. No, that really is Z, but when you picture it, though, you have to picture it as Y. Well, I looked at how everything was set up on the Black Belt Cura, and it told me that that was the Z axis. When you're setting it up in Cura, it's the Z.
Okay.
But when it displays it as the Y. So I looked at it, I'm like, so I need to make a Core XZ printer. So I made I wired it all up as Core XZ. I programmed up RepRap as Core XZ, fired it up, and I started printing. The thing starts printing wildly in the middle of the air instead of down at the belt. And I'm like, what is going on? I start checking, did I get it wired wrong? I go back through the config, and then something tells me, hey, check the G code. And I realized that no, all the movements are on the the Y axis. And I'm like, okay, I started looking at everything, realized no, they're telling it you look in there and you tell it the infinite Z on the display is Y, and then it translates it to Z in Cura. So the printer is still a Core XY with a Z axis. Okay. But I saw that the infinite was the Y, and I set it up that way. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not. But until you looked at the G code, there was no way to know they were taking the Ys and converting them and back and forth. But I understand why they did it. If you laid a 20-foot long sword in your view and it went straight down through the bottom of the screen, you would be like, well, I can't see the rest. And then you're trying to tell. It's like if they put it out in infinite, just like the belt is, the only way to do that, though, is to tell it that that's why. Okay.
This makes sense. And then, so what are you using? Are you using Black Belt Cura to slice it?
Right now, yes, because there really isn't a better alternative.
Okay.
And I say this every chance I get, and I'm going to say it at Earth, and I hopefully get to say it straight to his face. Joseph Prusa, please make belt support in Prusa Slicer so I can switch.
Have you put a GitHub request in on the Prusa Slicer GitHub page?
I haven't, because I don't even have any. I haven't even loaded Prusa Slicer yet. I look at what everybody's doing with it, and I would love to use it, but I have right now, and I don't want to try and run two different platforms.
So today, when you get done, put in a request. I almost feel like they will do it.
I would think he's already been working on it, because he told me at Murph that he actually has a Black Belt printer in his factory.
Yeah. So again, I doubt they're using Cura.
I can't think I'm the only one that's wishing I had a little bit more capability with the slicer.
Yeah. I mean, I would put the GitHub request in. The worst thing that's going to happen is it sits. And
Yeah.
if you do the request, post it on Twitter. And what they do on their GitHub is if other people seem interested, and they'll chime in on the GitHub like, yeah, I'm also interested in this feature. So I would do that. I think that would be a good first step. Because I would like to see a Prusa slicer. I mean, I like Cura. It works. You know, I don't like S3D because of certain personal issues, but it still is a slicer and it works. I have no, but it would be nice to see it in, not have to use a black belt version of Cura on your open source.
Yeah.
Or if you get, I know Ultimaker won't do it, but
yeah. Well, and the nice thing is Cura still is open source. So
yes. So someone could port a version for you if they can figure out what was, I mean, technically Black Belt should have posted whatever they did changes to Cura then.
It's all out there on Cura's, but I'd still have, unfortunately, I'd have to know a lot more about coding so I could turn around and make a White Knight version of it's. And I'm like, it's not for me to go. I've learned Fusion for everybody. I'm not learning coding too.
Yeah, no, I also try to learn Fusion, so I know your frustrations. I went to mechanical engineering school and I tried to learn, CAD, and I'm sitting there now trying to learn CAD and Fusion. I'm like, my brain hurts. So, so you've got the printer, you've got a software that works it, and we've seen the prints. I don't know if people have seen the prints. You made that giant double sword, the Thanos sword. Is that what that was?
Yeah. If I wasn't in the middle of priming and sanding it, I'd bring it back out to show everybody. Unfortunately, if I were to pick it up right now, I'd have gray hands when I sat back down. And
it's on your Twitter, right? So if I link your Twitter,
it's on Twitter. It's actually, if you're already subscribed to my channel, when you go back to my YouTube channel, it's the top video. Still, I do believe.
Well, I will show. There you go. YouTube.com/ that's the link right there to his YouTube. Look, I made these banners. I'm ahead of the game today. So we got that out of the ballpark. We got that out of the way. That was the tough questions. Because those are all the technical things. So you got it at a good price. I mean, you said you wanted something under $2,000. You're close to $2,000. I mean, that's admirable. I mean, I wouldn't know what to price it at. I thought it was at least $2,000 myself in my head. I'm like, those are some thick rails and custom this and custom that. It's not something you can just, like I can go to a store and buy all the parts for a Prusa technically. I mean, if I went to Masumi, I can buy everything, to the motors, to the rails, to the rods, to the frame, to make a Prusa style, a Cartesian style printer, and we know the cost of that. This is new. This is a new world. There's like 2 other brands that make a belt style printer
right now. Kind of 3. There's Black Belt.
Yep.
There's Power Belt 3D, which they will also be at Earth.
Okay. And are they open source or are they? I'm
not sure. I don't want to speak for them. I think I may have rubbed them the wrong way, and if they're watching, I had no intention of doing so. They posted the first pictures, and immediately someone commented how the wiring was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sorry, I kind of set the standard high for you guys. And I don't think they took it as a joke. And it really was meant that way. It's just, I brought mine out, and everybody's like, we can't even find the wiring. Where is it? And then
we'll have to show the users your wiring.
and then theirs is everywhere, and it's like, sorry guys. But they're bringing one, and I mean, they're boasting a much lower price, but then again, like I said, they're running a MKS board, and I don't know what other parts are. I remember that from the interview on Community Friday Night Hangout the other night.
Nice.
But
I need to stop by Friday Hangouts more often. I was out of town, as always.
And then looks like Printer Belt's going to be making a return.
Oh yeah, okay. So that was PrinterBot, right?
Yeah. The Printer Belt supposedly Bill Steele and I can never remember his name. Guy that run PrinterBot.
Yep, you also got me on that one. Someone probably mentioned in the chat. Chat's actually pretty quiet. They're just like,
it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember it to save my life at the moment.
Everyone's all just watching patiently.
They posted a video of just their prototype belt setup they're working on. I guess they put it out there for all because they're going to do it all through Patreon.
So. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good. You don't have a Patreon now. You did take some funding. You're still looking for some funding for this printer, correct?
Correct. I'm awful close to having enough to get it done, but it'd be nice to not be scraping my bank account empty every paycheck, keeping going and getting it going at the same time.
So what does the PayPal do? What do you do? And I've dropped the link below. So tell the audience what your PayPal goes towards. What are you trying to achieve by getting some money to make this product? I mean, that just sounds right to me in my head. I want money to help make this product.
It's going toward designing and building the White Knight's little brother, the Squire.
Nice. So this is going to be a less price costing printer?
Really isn't that big of a price difference in it, just because you're using pretty much all the same parts.
Okay.
Now, the couple of the benefits with this one, that it will they'll probably balance out in the end. But E3D is working on cutting me a custom nozzle and hot end that'll work with the 45 degree. Because right now, if you use a V6, you gotta cut a 45 degree angle on the back of the block so it doesn't drag in the belt, and you got to taper your nozzle a little bit more. Or with an E3D, you can use an MK8 nozzle.
Okay.
As opposed to with the Mosquito, you can't, because it'll bottom out on the heat block before it bottoms out on the heat sink.
Okay.
So I had to custom cut E3D nozzles to run with the Mosquito hot end. So yeah, you'll be able to run a less expensive V6 hot end. And then Duet was nice enough when I mentioned I was doing these infinite prints and they heard I didn't have a runout sensor. They sent me their newest version of their runout sensor. So the Squire is going to have the runout sensor. So when you add the cost of it with the decrease on the V6, you're going to balance out about the same. And you can run either or still. I still use the groove mount.
Sent you $50.
Awesome. Thank you. It'll be well spent. Yeah.
And Midnight Giant just entered the chat, by the way.
Cool. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, so there's some minor changes. A lot of people, one of the biggest criticisms I got at Murph was I was running a groove belt across smooth pulleys. And then Printed Solid started stocking the Prusa groove, the little 16-tooth groove pulleys that are on
Yep.
So I reworked all the files, and this one has groove pulleys now instead of the smooth ones where they need to be.
Okay.
But
Prusa still uses smooth ones.
Yeah. There's I've switched this one over to a direct drive version. It'll still have Bowden to feed it, but I've moved the extrude and everything down here just as kind of an experiment to see what it's going to do. And there's some other tweaks I've done to it that I don't want to give everything away for Earth, but
and how far are we from Earth? That's only we're pretty close.
Like 16 or 17 days, I think.
Oh wow.
Chris keeps posting it on Twitter. I try to ignore all the Earth posts now because it stresses me out. But and then I went ahead and made everything separate for the control panel and the power supply and the Duet, so that if you want to enclose the smaller version and print ABS, you'll be able to without frying your electronics.
So all the electronics are on their own little sister box.
Yeah.
And then you'll just one wire it over.
Yep. And as always, I mounted everything nice and neat.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Two connectors off the back, which would be one cable and your power cord, and you can. Oh, I need I need to take out my Duet and change some wiring around or whatever, or replace it. It's, two thumb screws away from being accessible.
That is ridiculous. And I'm over here fascinated by a little printed box that holds my EINSI and has the cables all nice and neat. And you're over here super science man, making sure all those cables are in. And that comes back to your car time, because in vehicles you don't want to have a whole bunch of wires hanging out everywhere. They kind of hide them where they can, and you've got room. In printers, it's not easy. There's not a ton of room to hide stuff. So
no, you have to take advantage of this. Like with the White Knight, I literally ran the wiring down. Let's see, you can see, down all the grooves in the 48 extrusion and in the center of the 2040 extrusion.
That's awesome.
On the Squire, I'm actually hiding it all in the channel.
A little bit easier to get to for maintenance.
Right, you'd be able to pull, because unfortunately in the White Knight, once it's run, it's in there. You can't get to any of it once it's done. So if something goes wrong in the wiring harness, you gotta almost halfway disassemble it to fix it.
That would be difficult. I would be a little sad.
I made the mistake on the White Knight. Luckily, I caught it before I built Mike's. That I actually put heat shrink around all the wiring before I fed it through the Bowden tube. So it was a very tight fit through there.
Yeah.
It wiggled and twisted it too much, and I actually caused a short up here on a couple of my wires. And I had to pull it all back out, and I ended up cutting all of them off and solder splicing them up at the corner on mine and feeding a whole new set of wires down. But I made sure the second time I did not put the heat shrink on there so they could move freely without twisting at that one spot.
See, and this is why other companies need to listen to awesome advice from you, because I would love to see more printers with more hidden wire. I mean, my Ender 5 has wires everywhere. I mean, they put them in wraps, but it's everywhere. So I got a question from the chat that struck me too. Carl, when you do multiples, do you slice them all or just one and hit a repeat function?
I actually, right now, if you in Black Belt Cura, you actually have an option for, you can put a model in and you can say how many copies, and then it will populate. Now, unfortunately, though, it populates. If you say 20, it takes your G code and it repeats it 20 times, and then that's one file.
Okay.
Now there is and I wish I could remember the name of it. I wish Matt from How I Do It was in the chat because he knows it. There is a web-based slicing software you can use. It works kind of like Octoprint, that you can drop models into. You can connect your, I think it works through Octoprint, but you can connect to your printer through the website, and you can just keep dropping models in. So you can remotely run your print farm from wherever you just drop another model in and let it go and watch on the camera, and you can cancel the print and start a new model. So you could just keep dropping, and you can create a queue. You can keep dropping files in right after the other for your print queue to keep going.
Oh, I like this feature. Another question from the chat. 3D print. The German 3D printing nerd says, when can we find the Squire STL files on Thingiverse?
Probably going to do the same thing I did for the White Knight, assuming I get this done in time for Earth. I hope to post all the files right before, probably post them like Thursday or Friday right before Earth. I just want to get it all printed and be sure everything's good. I'm printing them all in their final color now. Nice. So once it's all put together, I'm sure all the fitment's right, then I'll create a branch off of the White Knight and upload all the Squire files. And the German 3D printing nerd, and I know everybody else, I can't remember all the names of the people that helped me on, converting the original STLs to Fusion so I could adapt them. But yeah, I'll just like I uploaded all the files for the White Knight and Fusion finally, all these will go up in F3D, STEP, and STL file. So
awesome. I appreciate the F3D files, mostly because I suck at Fusion, but at least I'll look at them and be like, hey, look at this history that looks way cleaner than mine, hopefully.
No, I'm pretty sure my history looks horrible because I still don't know what I'm doing. And I tell everybody what's really, it's bailed me out a few times, but it's probably really bad talking to people that look at my history. I learned how to do all this. And I built the White Knight with Microsoft 3D Builder. I'm pretty sure I about gave Joel a heart attack when I told him that at Murph. And he's like, dude, you didn't build this thing with one hand tied behind your back. You did it with both.
And German 3D printing nerd says his name is Don. Hi, Don.
Hi, Don.
I'm so bad at the names.
I forgot it. It's like it comes and goes. I'll have to add him to my little. I got a little wall. I keep putting pieces of tape, people's handles in their real name.
I need to start doing this because I'm so bad at the handles and real names, and I'm just like Carl. Yes, and then I spelled it wrong, and I still didn't change it. I just realized I didn't change it from the C Carl to the K Carl.
I'm gonna get off stream now.
It's all stuck. I can't change it. No, I can change it afterwards. Man, that's awesome. So we're only 37 minutes in. Give me, what else do you want to talk about with your printers? What else should we know?
Oh, let's see. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, right now what's running through my head, and then I was like, for the people watching, and for the few that won't get to go to Earth, I was like, if anybody's worried because I moved the control box outside of the Squire that the wires are going to be all over the place, I made nice little removable panels
Oh boy.
So you'll be able to feed, the wire will come in through the clamp here, and then you can run for what's going to the hot end. It'll run right up through the channel through, and then I've got, you know, inlay to cover it all in the channel, and the rest will get fed through the back and hidden all inside the extrusion underneath the belt. So it's pretty, you know, other than the fact that there'll be one big cable coming out the side, go into the box, which I haven't figured out how to wirelessly connect the control panel to the printer without there being cables. So, you know.
One day someone will come up with that.
One day we'll be able to send power through the air, and we'll be able to do that.
Tesla did it. We can do it.
Yes, that's it.
You just need Tesla coils all over your printer.
Yeah. Well, they say steppers play, you know, you can make steppers play music.
Yeah.
How cool would it be if we could do the lightning strikes playing a tune that caused the print?
You know what? You got me. If you make the lightning printer, I don't know what it'll do. I don't think it'll actually print, but I mean, it'd be kind of neat to have
it'd be awesome to be able to print, like, you know, print the Thanos blade again, but with like Thunderstruck playing on the lightning while it's printing it. That would be awesome.
Future dreams of future 3D printers. Prusa will eventually launch a printer with the Tesla coil attached to it. You heard it here first, folks.
I'm waiting for Mike to jump in going, when you build that, I'm taking it. He wants to build a Tesla coil so bad.
There's some good kits. I watch Electro Boom, and he's hilarious. I mean, I still don't understand electrical any more so now than I did before watching Electro Boom, but he makes it so fun. And there's a couple Tesla coil kits. So and Mark in Germany. So Mark E, he's in the chat right now. He's one of our mods and admins at the Prusa Facebook group that I'm a part runner of. Many other awesome people. He wants a belt printer. He's a crazy printer guy. He's got a bunch of crazy printers, some Core XYs and some Deltas and some Prusas and whatever.
Yeah,
he's also working on he just got the parts for the threaded rod printer.
Okay.
So all the X, Y, and Z apparently are threaded rods.
I can't equate this one. I can't see how that can possibly be fast.
You know what? And when he prints with it, it'll probably be fast. I have no.
I'm just thinking how they work. I'm like, I mean, you watch your Z axis go up and down on a threaded rod, and it's always so slow. I'm like, how? I mean, there's reasons why companies are mounting the Z axis on belts so they can be steppered, you know, on a belt. That latest one Chris just built, that bed moves like it's on, you know, lightning speed, just up and down. I'm like, okay, but I don't see a reason for it either, other than makes it homing really quick.
Yeah, I also don't see it because you can't print Z taller faster unless you're printing in the Z, which you can't really do very well because the nozzle and heat block get in the way. So there's a certain amount of Z you can have, but it's not like when people got really, really ecstatic about the non-planar printing. And there's literally everyone going like, I hate to kibosh, but what hot end can get more than like a millimeter or two of this?
Yeah, you've got what, 4 or 5 millimeters is your total nozzle height.
Yeah, you know, and not bumping into it on the next little bit, which you can. It's pretty crazy.
I have my biggest fan in the chat. 3D Jimmy's always hyping me up, leaving me awesome comments on all my videos.
3D Jimmy's a good human being. I think he's come on to chat a few times. He's always saying nice things about all kinds of nice things. So let me think of any other questions I had. So we've gone over the fact that the project's almost there. You know, you've got the PayPal up to get the final little bits of basically funding to finish. You know, that way you're not, you know, stripping the paycheck every week.
Yeah.
You've got the Squire, which is the smaller, more compact, more, I guess, a refined version of the White Knight is what maybe we'd call it.
I'm hoping I see at least some minor improvement in it. I still think the biggest bottleneck I have, and it might just be because of who the printer is designed for. I still think the software is my biggest bottleneck because they've catered Cura so much to the black belt. Literally half the functions I want to play with, I go to click on it and it says it is locked by the selected printer. And it doesn't matter if I create a completely new belt printer on there or if I take the black belt and then just rename it and tweak it. Yeah. Half the settings are basically black, grayed out. You can check mark it, but it won't show up. So it's really it's locked down, and there's a lot of other settings I would really like to play within it that I can't. But
Prusa, if you're listening, when Carl puts that GitHub request for a infinite Z belt Y-axis request, throw that in there. There isn't any harm. It's actually going to help. And then so you went from Bowden to Direct Drive, and that's going to give you a bunch of benefits because Bowden's great. I mean, it's inexpensive, it's easy to use because you can put the motor wherever you want. It makes a lighter extruder head. So there's some big benefits to Bowden, but their attractions suck. The feed tube, if it's not really good PTFE, a lot of people switch to Capricorn because 1.9 millimeter inner diameter, so there's less filament slack. I use Fluorostore from they make a 1.8 PTFE, so I get even better for cheaper. Doesn't have as high a temp, but there's always little things you got to think about when you build a printer. When we built the printer for the Makerspace, it was let's just make a Prusa clone that's taller and has many of the Prusa features, but running Marlin 32-bit. There wasn't very much creativity. This is a whole new world. There isn't you didn't have a template to go off of because everything was closed source basically to you. So, this was a project that was, an investment in probably, mind breaking. You're like, how do I do this? And it's crazy. I mean, look at that. And the refinement showed, and those little refinements, I think really will, make it a better printer and get more excitement because people are already excited. I mean, I was excited at Murph. Everyone at Murph was pretty darn excited. And so was the Twitter storm on the White Knight, and you still have a good following. So, any little refinements.
Yeah. I admit I was really hoping by now there would be a few of these out in existence and people are already starting to make refinements. And I think I hate to say it, I think I made a mistake announcing that Printed Solid was going to make kits because a lot of people went, well, whoa, wait, if they're going to make a kit, I'm not going to start building one.
Yeah.
And I get why they did it, but at the same point, I kind of wish they'd have gone ahead and done it because I've got, I won't lie, I only have a few submissions for the belt because I said, hey, I want to be sure it goes to someone who's building one. Send me any level of progress. If you've only printed a few of the parts, that still enters you because at least you're working toward it. I just don't want, I've got 1,200 and some followers right now. Yep. If they all entered and only 5 of them are building a printer and someone that's not one of the 5 gets it, what's going to happen to the belt? Is it going to get? Are they going to turn around and sell it and make a profit and rake someone over the coals for what should have been a cool help item in building someone else's printer? I just want to make sure it goes to someone who's going to use it.
Yeah, so basically, a challenge to the community. Someone. I will start printing some parts. I need to get another roll of some atomic carbon fiber PETG because I love printing all my parts in carbon fiber PETG. I'm a crazy guy like that.
You'll have the strongest built one then.
Well, I mean, for me, I love PETG, but I hate the flexibility. And I found that when I switched to a stiffer material, my print quality increased because when motors and belts are moving, your parts can fluctuate too. So I found that my printer was more accurate, in terms of small little things. Like my prints got better. And I think I attest that to the fact the prints are just more rigid. Yeah. It doesn't actually make the parts that much stronger. It just makes them less flexible, which PETG is flexible. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I also like the finish. It looks pretty. So,
you ever heard of Life Enable? Or the prosthetics?
Yeah.
They said they wanted if I wanted them to, they'd print me parts for the Squire. So I sent them a file just to see what it would look like, and they have those sintering nylon printers.
Oh, those things are crazy.
This part looks amazing. I mean, it really, and they dyed it red for me because I was wanting to do it in red. And I love this print, but and it just wasn't quite the color I was going for. One, and the other thing that kind of worried me just a little bit. I don't know if you can see it when I squeeze it.
Yeah, they flex a bit.
And I'm like, I worry it, it's probably rigid enough, but I know it would take the beating, but I just wondered if I would get side wobble because it can flex a little bit.
Yeah, so they do make carbon fiber enhanced nylon for sintering, and that stuff is extremely stiff. I have a sample of it somewhere in a box. Someone printed me one in that they work for a racing company, and they printed me a set from their own machine that they use to print for their racing, their actual race cars. And it is like light as a feather, but rock hard. And I never got to use it because some of the parts were slightly warped, but the process unfortunately isn't the best, but it's awesome. Oh, let's see. 3D Jimmy, wouldn't it be cool if the White Knight could wireless hook into a queue on your computer to get the next print? You would theoretically change the queue while it's printing the current part. And things like Repetier Server does have a really nice queuing system. Mm-hmm. I use Repetier Server for all my printers down here. I've got like big 7-inch touchscreens that run all my printers down here. And one Repetier can run up to like an infinite number of printers, depending on, if you have it on a computer, you run as many as you want. You have it on a Pi, you can run 4. But
that's an awesome plugin for Octoprint.
Yeah, that would be an awesome plugin for Octoprint. And I think Repetier would be easy. Just like, hey, can you make a queue that if I just hit it, it just starts printing on the same printer? Yeah. Add a little G code that adds like move belt 10 millimeters, start new print.
Yeah, I joked with the Duet guys and said, is there anything you would like in, from us? Anything we can do to help with this project? And I joked around. I said, yeah, can you give me a way to input a camera so I can have a camera watching through the Duet interface? He went, yeah, no, we've never gotten that request.
What?
If I was designing the Duet board, I think there's 2 things I would add to it. I would add a USB camera input so that you could have a camera connected right to the board that would go straight through your interface.
I would be okay with this.
And I would have an RGB connector for LEDs.
I'm also okay with this.
Because you can do RGB control if you put the DuX board on, because then you can take all the different PID outputs and control the lights. But you got to waste like 3 other connectors to do it.
That's no fun.
No. It's like, and it's just a little 4-pin connector. I'm like, if it had that, then you could sit there and you could have it to where you had your, green lights while you're printing and red lights when it's done, or,
hot red light when it's heating up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing. And of course, yeah, I'd switch over to the new 2208 steppers. So it's just dead silent.
Ooh, I do like the 22. And I also like the 2209s. They're starting to hit the market more I've been reading. I own a set of 5160s, the Trinamic. I still haven't put it in anything, but I bought a set when they were on sale, and I think DigiKey. So yeah, I'm a weirdo. I buy for futures because I still don't know what I'm putting in this. Like I'm like, do I put it a Prusa Rambo, INC Rambo in here? Do I do something crazy with it? It's a pretty printer.
Yeah, it's like someone back in the chat a while back asked me what other printers I own. Robert Reynolds. Because he knows that my channel started off upgrading, and you can't see it sitting here, but I still have I started the series on upgrading a DaVinci Duo to a E3D Chimera hot end and everything else. And
wow.
I put, there's more money in parts than I spent on the printer originally. I picked them up broken on eBay for under $200. I won't spend more than $200 on a DaVinci.
But I don't think anyone should.
I've got 6 of them though. I was printing lots of ABS parts when I first started.
Yeah, and they're enclosed.
Perfect ABS printer because they're fully enclosed.
Yep. And a lot of guys buy those Anycubic Formax printers. They're also enclosed. That's a popular one and they're like $400. I mean, yeah, it's a great.
I'd buy them for $200 and put like $400 worth. I was starting off with cheap steppers. The one I was building for the series actually had Bondtech BMG extruders and the E3D Chimera hot end, and it's gonna have a BuildTech flex plate. I mean, it's 3 times its value in parts.
You sound like me, but when I tinker with my Prusas, like this crazy Prusa is like 3.5 to 1 gear box added onto it, duet plus 5-inch duet panel do plus I don't know what else I put on there. I mean everything. It just doesn't have a mosquito, and it should have a mosquito on there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Tristan says I should turn the purple one to a dual printer. IDEX would be awesome, but I'd lose so much room. I also can't design parts for crap. I'll have to call Carl and design me some parts.
Do a back-to-back mosquito.
That wouldn't be too bad. That takes up a lot less room.
Yeah, it's tight, and you could probably still use the Prusa dual. Is it the Prusa that's got the stair-step dual extruder package?
No,
or is it G-Max? It's got. Someone's got one. It's like two of them it's two BMGs, and they're just offset over each other, so they'll fit down that tight.
Yeah, I know that Matter Hackers has something similar on their what is that thing? I don't know, their Pulse.
Yeah,
but nah. But still multi extruders is on my list of things. I do want to get a rail core. That's on my list. I want to get a White Knight. Everything like when I started, everything was like I want these cheap printers. I want to tinker on them. Now I'm like, why tinker when I can just get a really cool printer and just works right away? Because I print a lot of carbon fiber parts for people. Like that's one of the things that I do is print, carbon fiber PTG parts for printers. And I'm like, a belt printer would be awesome because I'd just be like, print this one thing 20 times and then do the next part, print that 20 times. Like that's all I would want to do. That's it.
Yeah. What was I going to say now? Shoot, I lost my thought. Don't get old.
I'm halfway there, bro.
No, someone asked me if I was ever going to do a dual extrusion version of this.
Okay.
And of all the Da Vinci's I upgraded. I put the Chimera. I love that, side by side. It's really easy to adjust and level. But if I was going to do a dual extrusion, I admit if I had time, I would have done it for the Squire. I really want to sit down and talk with the Lawsbot guys at Earth. I love their retractable nozzles. So you don't have to worry about the other nozzle dragging through your print while you're running one. I'd love to figure out a way to incorporate their retractable nozzle carriage onto the White Knight. Then
that'd be cool.
Print and just have the nozzles flip flop.
Yeah, you just got to make it so it's room. Oh, Tristan's making a dual X gantry and extruder. Oh, the X rails are on the front and the back of the Z extrusion. Oh, wow. Man, there's so many cool things. Like, if you added what everybody wanted in 3D printing into one printer, the cost would just be completely ridiculous. I want a 5 extruder IDEX. I mean, which is basically tool changer. I want the ability. Yeah, they do. They made E3D's got tool. I mean, they're priced out of my mind.
What's the one? I can't remember that. They're at Murph every year. Broke ass Wonder Woman works with them.
It's not that company known as M3D that makes the crane, is it?
No. They print parts for a casting company, but the printers they use are amazing. I can't. And they are always talking up BuildTak too, because they have flex plates on all of them. They're these massive printers, and they run like 6. They can. Oh,
stacker.
Yeah, the stackers.
Yeah. Yep.
They run the 6 different heads, and they can position them wherever they want. And I was watching him when he goes, "Yep, I need to print 4 things today," and he grabs the just drops them onto the bar, turns a screw or something, locks them in place, and bam, he starts printing 4 prints
at one time. I've seen that one, and that their pricing is actually really good. I kind of looked at them for a hot minute. I mean, I wasn't going to buy one. It's out of my price range for what I do, but the huge build volume and multi-head was really cool. But man,
if I was running a print farm and that's all I was doing, I would have to have at least 1 or 2 of those, because like you said, you can print really big stuff, and if you don't have any big stuff, then you pull out all your nozzles and you print a bunch of small stuff.
Yep. And that's why I want a belt printer. I just want to be able to print a lot of one thing without having to come down, printer's done, take the print off. And I mean, there's some automation you can do where you can knock the print off, with the head, and it starts printing again. I just feel that's not the most bestest way of doing it. It's not the most elegant way.
I
of
don't
doing
know
it.
how they do that, because I everything I print on, most of my printers have glass beds, with the exception of the White Knights and my CR10S Pro. And to be honest, I love the adhesive ability of it, but I can't stand that bed that comes on the CR10S Pro. Because if you don't if you don't catch the print just as it's starting to cool down and get something under it and pop it loose, if it gets completely cold, you got to heat it back up, or I've put so many cuts and tears in that sheet now trying to pull prints off of it, because I got home and it's already cooled all the way down and I'm too impatient to heat it back up. And it's not a flex plate, so I can't flex it and pop it off. I don't know why they would put a build tack type surface and not put it on a flex plate. It kind of seemed, counterproductive.
3D Jimmy over here. With a belt printer, I could print a whole bear kit. Yes, that's exactly my train of thought. Is, that's my issue when I do big prints. Is I need 5 printers to get an order done, and I have things like this printer's printing the x-axis, this printer's printing the y-axis, this printer's printing the z-axis. And it gets confusing sometimes. On a belt printer, just be like, here's the entire list of prints. And as it prints, it just shoots the parts off. I'm like, that is the coolest idea ever in my head. Especially for someone who wants to automate.
I won't lie. I don't know if I would trust it to do that quite yet.
Oh, I would do it anyway. I'm the crazy guy.
I'm still getting the slicing. Like I said, I really hope someone builds one of these that's got Filament Frenzy level slice tuning capability, because I'm sure at least half of my problem is my limited knowledge on all the different settings and slicing and how to get it just right. Yeah. I was really hoping he was going to come to Earth, and last I heard he's not, because I told him if he came, I would let him take the Squire home with him. Oh, man. Because it's small, it's small enough. I would take it apart, flap it down, and we'd make him a small crate to ship it. And I was going to have him keep it for a couple months, fine tune Black Belt Cura to work with it, and then send it on a road trip. Send it up to Hawk 3D and over to E3D, and let everybody else play with it, and just work out one of those people bringing it back for Murph. So then I'd have it at Murph, because I figure I can find someone over there that would be coming over that would bring it with them. Yeah.
No, that would make sense. I mean, you could do like a USA tour, like after Earth, find someone on, one coast and just make it travel, get a group of people that you trust that would travel to, and everyone can get a chance.
Need a lot more PayPal donations for that.
Well, you'd make everyone pay the shipping.
Yeah.
They would help you out. I wouldn't make you do it. That would be weird.
I wish I was retired. I'm retired from the military, but I'm not retired. I still have to work. I wish I was retired enough I could just jump in the White Knight bus and
take the tour.
Maker Fair to Maker Fair to Maker Fair, and just keep setting up and showing off. And
and stopping off at cool YouTubers' houses. Stop over at fun in the country basement one day and be like, haha, but then show up in the next one the next day, like you're just on there for like a whole week.
You have no idea how bad, because no idea how badly I want to just sneak up to Walter's house and just know he's on stream and just burst through the door into his trailer.
Bring in a printer, set it up, Walter.
I want to see if I can make him fall backward out of his chair.
Print me a vape case now. Oh man, that'd be so cool. I mean, it is kind of that grassroots kind of thing that helps 3D printing, where open source continues to get better because of people building it. So I mean, if we can get Mark E from the Germany to get on board to building one, because that dude's crazy about building fun printers. And then I need to really sit down and do it too. And maybe that'll be one of my winter projects, because right now I'm not even printing because I'm so swamped with my wedding stuff, and I'm actually caught up. So I've been really good at going, okay, I'm not printing anything for a while and not coming down into my lab and like just messing around, so I can continue to stay on track with the people who pay me.
So you said that terrible W word.
Yeah. It did.
Does she support your habit? Because I see it as a very bad habit, looking at everything in the background there.
No, so I'm a wedding photographer, so I'm at weddings every weekend. I'm not married.
Okay.
I do have a lady, but I'm just, she supports basically everything. That's actually the nice thing. She wants a printer, actually. So
That's good.
which there's plenty down here if anybody needs. I know people have been oogling the purple printer and going like, I want this purple. I'm like, that is a sexy purple printer.
Not dark enough.
Yeah, I would like a blood red. They do have a pretty okay red.
I want to talk to Jason and tell him he needs to get some polyalchemy nightshade and match it.
That would be pretty sweet.
Because if I do another one of these, I want to do it in the. I'm hoping Philomenum remembers. If they're watching right now, I told them I wanted at least 5 rolls of Voodoo because I didn't get a chance because I was so swamped at Murph. By the time I got a chance to get over to them, they'd sold what few rolls they brought to Murph. I said, I want 5 rolls. Hold them for me. I will buy them. I wanted the dark purple like polyalchemy and then all the parts printed out of the Voodoo.
That would be super cool. Mark says all he needs is the SDLs and probably some things from the United States. Yeah, you'll need at least the custom belt and the bed material from Build Tech. So, Mark, if you want to go halvesies on a belt, message me. We'll talk later. We talk like every day, Mark and I. So, I can ship you the steel belt and the Build Tech because I think that's all you need. That would be everything else you can get anywhere.
The hardest part would be the size of the box you'll need to do for the metal belt.
Yeah,
because you got to make sure you don't kink it anywhere, and it's hardened steel. It's hard to do it, but you don't want to make sure you don't get any tight folds, obviously.
So whatever they ship it into me, I got to ship it back to you. And
I'm dreading that. I really want to talk to them. There's got to be a better way to pack them because they pack them coiled in like a U shape. In a box like this tall by this wide by that wide, surrounded with 4-inch or 2-inch thick pink insulation foam. So they make it like a super hard wall box so nothing can puncture the box and damage the belt.
Oh, wow.
It's impressive the amount of packing they go to package these things. And it's like, but now you're paying that huge box fee. And I'm sitting there thinking, couldn't you get a couple cardboard tubes and then shove the foam in between it? So put tubes on the end and some foam in the middle and then run like 1 inch around and you could flat pack it almost.
Yeah. They make Expandafoam for that where you'd actually have the coil and you'd fill the inside with Expandafoam and it would fill in. And it's not like super expanding, but it expands enough so it would be nice and tight in there and you can still slide it off.
Yeah, because I laid out the packing for the White Knight in my head if we were to kit it.
Yeah.
If you put the 2 4080 rails on the outside and the 2 rollers, actually put the rollers in the belt, and then you made a box that filled the space exactly between the 2 rollers so it kept them tight and kept the belt tight in the rollers, then all the rest of the extrusion would fit inside that box, and you could just slide it in the middle, and literally you could pack the whole printer in a box, 4 inches tall by 3 feet long by, 2 feet wide or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, even kind of like Creality does, maybe if you shipped the bottom partly assembled, so that way the belt and the bed are, they're already stretched and in shape, and then put packaging around it, so that way they can't get damaged too. That
was the whole idea behind it. That way the 40 extrusion was kind of help protect the belt, Yeah.
Because there's so how does it? So there you got the metal, the steel belt, and
right.
How is it like a printed roller?
It's hold on.
I'll put you on main screen. Boom. Why can't we just raid Tesco and nick the belts from the checkouts?
Yeah. I have fun every time I see stuff like conveyor belt things from shopping marts. Like, oh, I see another belt printer in my future.
Yep.
So it's 3-inch aluminum tubing.
Okay.
1/8-inch wall. You've got 2 end caps that press in, and I made a center insert just so the rod doesn't have that chance to flex in the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
So you print these parts, and you'll print the basically the jig, so you get the right amount of extension through. So you put the rod in, drive all the parts across it, a little bit of JB weld to hold it all in place, and then it's all run on 1/2-inch steel rod.
Oh, sure. Don't use millimeters.
You know how hard it is to find metric steel rod in the United States? It's not as easy as everybody thinks.
I just go to Misumi.
Yeah, but you got to wait for it to come from China that way.
No, they cut it. They cut it and ship next day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a few people over give me a hard time for not doing everything in metric. I was like, I had my sources, and I found that Midwest Steel is so cheap on their supplies that I couldn't knock it. I'm like, no, I'm going to stick with what I can easily get.
Let's see here. Let's go to, let's see, inch to millimeter. So you have
12.7 millimeter.
12.7. So let's go to Misumi. And so it should be us.misumi.
By the way, you're still locked on me.
Oh, I know. That's good.
Okay.
Oh, Misumi USA. And us.ec. You know how hard it is to find Imperial stuff in Germany? No, Mark, I don't actually. So let's get J-Rod.
Unfortunately, I do. And I do feel for them. I know Scalda, when I first released my BOM, tried to convert all the links, all the parts, tried to find sources for all of it in the UK.
So if we did 12 millimeter diameter in bearing steel with the hard chrome finish, because, you know, there's no other choice really.
Yeah.
And we also need a length. So what length are you using?
Hold on, I'll tell you. I forget how long these were.
Yeah. And I'll tell you.
400 millimeters.
400 millimeters. Got you. 400 millimeters.
Yeah. For Mark E, do you know how hard it is to find a tape measure in the United States that measures millimeter?
Not bad, actually. I found mine at Home Depot.
I found mine at True Value. The problem was, literally, in a wall of had to be 50 tape measures, this was the only one.
Yeah, the 8 meter, 26-inch one.
Yeah.
So let's see here. It's $13.50 for a bearing steel. I mean, this is overkill, and this is also a high quality. This is a G6 tolerance. So I mean, this is a high tolerance rod, hardened steel rod that will never. I mean, I don't think you need a hardened steel for this, but $13.50 is the price for that. So it's not horrible.
I think I got both of these for, I want to say $9. I can't remember for sure.
It's not bad. So if I went to PSFG, and so that's the lower grade. So I think that's, PSFG. That's still a precision linear shaft. 12 millimeter. That's the issue, is the 12 millimeter thickness. That's where the price starts going up. These come in carbon steel, not the bearing steel, which is better. I mean, not really better. It's F8. That's what it is. So 400 millimeter. That price is $9.40 for one. So it's double the price. And again, it's shipped next day, typically uncut. If you order, like these are extrusions I bought. Oh, I can't even see me, so this is pointless. Yeah. Aha! So here's extrusion I bought. I was literally shipped the next day. I just needed extrusion to.
That's like me ordering from McMaster Car. I love it. I order something on Saturday and it's waiting on my front door Monday morning.
Yeah. So what's funny about McMaster Car? I live not even an hour and a half from both Misumi and McMaster Car. I live near Chicago, so they have distributions in both. So I also have a business, so I run it as a business account. I get next day before noon shipping on McMaster Car as long as I order before 5.
Wow.
And no extra cost. Like that's just a regular shipping price. And then Misumi is just always next day. And yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love McMaster Car for that, because they have so many warehouses. Even though I know I don't buy near business level purchases.
Yeah, neither do I.
Feel like I'm getting that business level treatment because I order something and I have it within 2 days.
Does the belt run over a flat plate underneath the nozzle?
Yes, it does.
Oh, nice.
Let me grab one.
Mark Issa, 16 euros for 12 millimeter precision shaft, H6 tolerance, and 1 meter length. Well, good for you, Mark. I mean, I could probably get it cheaper if I get it from LD. Oh, yeah.
Well, focus is terrible there. There we go. Yeah, so on the White Knight, it's 3/8 inch thick. On the Squire, since it's smaller, I went ahead and went with a 1/4 inch. It's got a 3M adhesive, 175 watt heater on the bottom. I had to look, see what I went this one. On the Squire, it's 200, or on the White Knight, it's 200 watt.
Okay.
So
it's custom made too.
Yeah.
That looks
I found a guy on eBay that I can message him and say, this is the size and the wattage I want, and that's what they'll make.
That's amazing.
And every time I have one made, I said, hey, here, like if you contact, they're in the building materials. If you contact them and say, I need a White Knight heater, they will give you the 200 by 400, 250 watt heater, because they know that's the one. It's in their system as the White Knight heater. And I said, here's the one calling it the Squire heater. So they should know if you order a Squire what to get.
I approve of this. And someone just goes, did you already talk about the printer belt possible resurrection? We did. And someone actually mentioned the name that we were forgetting. And it was, let me scroll back up in the chat.
Drum.
Yep. So the people in the chat are always on it.
Yep.
So
I had someone, and if they're in the chat, I apologize, but I had someone send me an email this week saying, I'm a fan, but now I have doubts. How could you ever print ABS or PETG or anything because you don't have a printed build surface? I went, yes, I do. Because they're like, how could you get heat to transfer through to that? It's a moving surface. And I have to, it's amazing how many times I have to explain this to somebody. I'm like, okay, well, it's a steel belt on aluminum. Aluminum conducts temperature really well.
Yep.
And steel doesn't do that bad of a job either, honestly. But they're like, it's moving. How's it going to get the heat?
Well, it doesn't move constantly.
Well, it does, but it's moving at, let's just go on I printed a base to hold the Thanos blade. One layer was 1 minute. So I'm going 0.3 millimeters every minute. And I've got a good 2 or 3 millimeter lead up before you actually to where the nozzle's running. And you can't tell me the heat's not going to creep down the belt a little bit one way.
Yep.
I'm like, it's not an issue. And then I said, I'll have a smaller plate that's a cold zone on the end. And aluminum does just as good as being a heat sink. So it should cool it down fairly quickly as it comes off the end. So it'll just peel and run right off the end.
And the best part about BuildTak is if you can get it in a form that bends, it does so well at letting go of a print. That's my BuildTak. I had it. I had Fake Tack on my first printer. I had a Monoprice something, whatever. And it would stick so hard. You had to sit there and chisel at it, but it didn't have a flex plate. When I tried BuildTak on a flexible, I was like, wow, it actually comes off.
Yeah.
It's no longer just gripping like no one's business. And it works great for materials like PETG and stuff. So, and it leaves a nice texture.
Yeah. Here's what's sad is there are sometimes I just hate that texture though.
Yeah.
All the pieces that I printed for this, I wanted that nice glass. I mean, it's a nice glittery film. I wanted that nice smooth glass finish on it. I didn't want that raw texture to take off. Like the couple of pieces I printed that won't be visible because it'll be under the belt. I didn't care. Yeah. This filament looks so black where it's textured because it stops all the light from getting through it.
Yep. Jake from State Farm. There's also a thing about using the right tool for the job. ABS is practically obsolete in the consumer market. ABS has its place, and people are switching to ASA. I like PETG. I don't think it's a replacement for ABS. It still doesn't have as high of a deflection temperature and stuff like that. ABS is still the king, and ASA similar. So there's a place for it. Will it die? Probably. Who knows?
I hope not, because I'll be honest. After this bit of sanding I've done so far on the Thanos blade, I done something. I've done some prop prints with the Star-Lord and everything with his pistols and his helmet. I would not want to. I would not want to make that helmet anything other than ABS.
Yeah,
because it was so easy to acetone the parts together, and I could do the pre-sand with a file, and then I had a gap. Once I fit it to my head, I had to gap it a little bit. I put some ABS in my pen. I filled the gap, took all the sanding filings, dropped them in and dropped some acetone on it and made some paste, and I smoothed it all out, heated it up a little bit to form it some more, and then it's so much easier to put together.
Yep.
Than trying to do it with PLA, and it doesn't gum up your files or your sandpaper. And
ABS has its place.
ABS any day.
Yeah, it has its place, and it's. I don't print with it because I don't have an enclosure. If I had an enclosure, I would print with it, and I'm going to order me a printed solid enclosure one of these days. I keep telling Dave, I'm going to order it this week, and then I don't because I find some other projects. So right now, I don't want to add a project to my list while I'm keeping up with the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jake just says you don't need a belt printer to print ABS. You don't.
No.
But the people that will probably use this a lot, because you did that Thanos blade. These are going to be prop makers are going to love something where they can go, I don't have to print my prop in pieces. I can have one continuous link sword or one continuous replica of whatever, and it's all one piece, no glue. Just once I'm done, sand it. That is a whole new kind of environment to think about, because I'm used to trying to fit things on a tiny Prusa. I've got an Ender, I've got an artillery over here for bigger prints.
Yeah, that was the hardest part for me. Was all my printers are were Da Vinci's. I've got 6 of them that work right now, and 2 more that are parts. And the regular one's 200 by 200. The Duo, the reason I started making the upgrade is it's 200 by 150.
Ooh.
It's hard to print anything in that narrow print. And the first thing I did was that was why I switched it to the Chimera, because their stock carriage is this wide. And then when I put the Chimera, I shrink it to this wide.
So you actually got more room.
Oh yeah. I actually shrink it down enough that I can actually get it back to the 200 by 200 build plate again.
That's awesome.
But I did that just so I could print Star-Lord masks and stuff in there.
Well, I went to the makerspace, and when I first got there, the only printers they had was a borrowed CR10, and the together they bought one of those Monoprice mini printers that has a build plate the size of 100 by 120 by 120 or something like that. So now they have a custom Prusa and a Ender 3 now. I added that to their list of printers, but I don't know what I could do on a printer that doesn't print more than a little 4-inch cube.
I want a resin printer so bad, but at the same point I look and go, I'm going to be so limited. I want it because I want to play with it. I'm hoping I can afford to buy a Mars before, for Christmas. So it'll be my Christmas present to myself. And I'm just going to play with, I don't know if you went back and looked at some of the history. The first thing I ever made was I worked in Advanced Auto Parts when I first started doing this.
Okay.
This huge window at the front of the store. Well, I got this reputation. I got all sorts of car ornaments and stuff, and I did this cool Christmas tree, and I had these old die-cast, the big-time muscle cars that you buy at Walmart. I had a bunch of them, and I'd rigged bump trolleys into the bottom of them, made metal bumpers for the front, and they were actually run back and forth on the track, running into each other on a train track.
Oh, dang.
I'd made all the parts with aluminum tubing and stuff I could do on my mill, and they were very rough, but they worked. But it was a 2-pound car slamming each other. You could hear them all day long. And I got the printer, and I originally got it because I'd drawn up this idea of, and there's some artist made this thing where it's a bunch of V8 engines with antlers pulling an old Western carriage. And I said, I want to make that auto parts version. I want to do the same, all the engines, a different engine for each reindeer, but I want to put a 59 Caddy and turn it into a sleigh. And if you go through it's in there in my Twitter somewhere. I posted the pictures. The whole reason I bought the printer from Matt Gordon was to do that reindeer thing. And I actually have it to where I had it to where it hung from the ceiling on a disco globe motor, and it went around the tree.
That's pretty cool.
In the front showroom. And then I reprinted I found some plastic cars and I reprinted all the parts for the bumper so it was light plastic, and printed actual like Indy track and took the metal rails out of Fast Track from Lionel and pressed it in there so it looked like a racetrack instead of cars running on a train track.
Yeah.
And all that was printed in ABS because it had to be in the front window of the store.
Yeah. I think the only issue with that is the ABS will change color because it's not UV.
It's all painted.
Yeah. Well, then, awesome. that solves all the ABS issues.
Yes.
All right. So we've gone a little off track on the White Knight, but I think that was still kind of fun for the viewers. So, I mean, we talked about the main stuff. We talked about the open source, the evolution, the Squire now that, why the 45, the little questions, we got those things answered. We kind of brought up some things that you want to talk about it. What do you want to see from your creation here in the next 6 months? So let's see, right now it's September, so October, November, December, January. So coming to Murph next year, what would you like to see from your printer or the community based on your design? What do you want to see? What are you hoping to achieve in that time?
I want to see a couple of them at Murph.
Ooh,
I would love, and like I said, I know there are 3. Okay, I'll be honest. I have 3 entries for the belt giveaway right now. I really want there to be more.
Yeah.
I have 3 entries, and one of them, they had theirs up and running, and I don't know if they had a wire shorted or if they got a bad duet board, but they blew the driver to their extruder stepper.
Ouch.
So I'm sure that I luckily for them, they were still within their 6-month warranty. Hopefully it's covered under warranty and they get it going again.
Yeah.
But they're the closest to being done. They've actually got power applied, and I got another one that looks really close. And then another guy sent me all the parts are printed. He's like, extrusions on order. But I'd love to see, there was like a couple rail cores at Murph, and now we're going to have rail core alley at Earth because so many people are bringing rail cores. There
was 11 rail cores at Murph last year.
Yeah.
11.
But I want to see, I want to see 3 or 4 White Knights show up and be on display, and I want people to start posting, revisions to the GitHub. I want to see people going, hey, I figured out your issue with this, and here's the part I printed to fix it. I want to actually be able to start looking through the GitHub and go, okay, let me print that and test that. Yeah, that does work. Okay, yeah, I need to incorporate that into the design. And
yeah,
like you mentioned, the retraction. One of the biggest issues I have on the White Knight with it being Bowden is if I print a big part that swings from side to side, I'm still fighting trying to get a retraction setting where it'll do the retracting when it re-extrudes. I get a blob almost every time.
It's tough on the Bowden.
Skipping and layer shifts and everything else if I can't get that.
Yeah.
You do a negative negative return on retraction, but then if you do too many retractions in a row, then you get under extrusion. You got that catch-22. I haven't found the perfect midline. Printing that Thanos blade was 16 days of hell and stress because I was constantly going down and checking and making sure I didn't have layer shifts or clogs or
it had enough filament.
It's great, but there are still issues that need to be ironed out. And what started off as the original slice was at 75. I was running at 75 millimeters a second, and it was going to be 4 days.
Yeah.
By the time I got it printed, I was down to 40 millimeters a second in 8 days.
Yeah.
Because I had the travels at like 400 millimeters a second, and it would just shoot across. Great. But if I had a blob anywhere or a curled overhang a little bit, it would catch it and just. I watched it one day hit. Luckily, I was standing right here. It flew across and it hit and it bounced off the print and went straight to the belt and just shot across the belt. And I'm like, wow, okay. Pause, rehome, restart, slow down.
Yeah, I know that is. I mean, one of the things that everyone wants in a printer is more speed. FDM is not frustratingly slow. Like, I try to do prints. Like, I'll go to bed. I'll set up all my printers to print, go to bed, wake up. Hopefully some of them are done. the did I get the file for the Elvira bust yet? No, I haven't. I've seen it though. And I love horror movies. That's getting brought up. But I don't think FDM is ever going to be a speed category with a printer that, especially when you're printing big. Printing big is its own obstacle. Overhangs get bigger, and little things become big things. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Is stuff happens, and printing on a Cartesian is easy, but there's still issues. Like, this thing has overhangs and whatever.
Yeah.
Designers kind of work around that. Certain things you can't. And, you're in a realm of a printer that doesn't have a ton of input to help you. There's not a bunch of people going, okay, here's some cool Cura files or settings that will help with this and help with that. And here's these kind of supports work better on this printer versus these, or maybe even this infill is better. And it solves an issue. It needs time. Yep. So, that's, if anyone's got $2,000, start ordering parts.
I see Matt from How I Do It just jumped into the stream.
Hi, Matt from How I Do It.
For the questions that came in earlier, Matt, help me out. What is that web-based software that you can queue printed parts that you were saying would work great with the White Knight for doing production queuing of prints? See if he answers.
Yeah, Matt from How I Do It. You got 3 seconds.
You jumped in here, you get hit with questions. That's all I gotta say.
It happens sometimes.
That's been pulling their weight, answering our questions while we're talking about it. It's your turn, Matt.
Yep.
Don't disappoint. I'm counting on you.
This happens anytime I join a Fun in the Country or something when I'm in the chat, and they're like, hey, here's a Prusa question. Send it to Chris. I'm like, I got you, bro.
Yeah, especially if you make the mistake of jumping in on one of the few days that Shane from Prusa isn't in there.
Yeah, well, it's not a mistake. It's actually probably a good thing. He needs a break every once. I mean, he's actually, he's leaving Prusa.
What?
Yeah,
I had not heard that.
Yeah, he put in his final notice. So October 1st, I think, is his last.
Everybody's leaving the places we're used to seeing him at. I'm like, okay, so Shane's leaving Prusa.
Yep.
Kayla left BuildTech.
Really?
Sean left IC3D.
Wow.
Like, okay, it's gonna be a totally different. All the people we're used to seeing at certain booths. It's like next year we're gonna show up to Murph and everybody's gonna be at different booths. It's like because Sean just went to Peel Poly instead.
Yep.
I'm not sure I know the name of the company Kayla went to, so I don't know if she's going to be in the 3D printing industry still, if we'll see her.
So she was Lady BuildTech, right?
Yeah, BuildTech chick, yep.
What? Yeah, it's going to be rough without Shane at the play. I helped Shane set up the Prusa booth because he was the only one there. Everyone else came in the day after, so that Thursday and Friday that they were setting up, I was there with them, so... And I was hanging out with him and oh gosh, I'm horrible with the names. Just said it from IC3D.
Sean,
yeah. So we were all hanging out. We all had lunch, and it was a good time. There is 3D Printer OS. He says Carl. No, not Carl. How I Do It says he forgot. He's
I say it's the. I'm pretty sure it's the one that Bill Steele made. I thought it's Cloud something, and I can't remember what it is to save my life now.
Yeah,
but actually, hold on.
We're talking about
printed solid.
Ooh.
And then 3D Jimmy's giving me a hard time if I'm going to do a video that shows how to align the gantry to the belt. No, you got to figure that out on your own because I'm still figuring it out.
Man,
trial and error for me because I think I get it right, and then the next time I go to do it, I have to relearn it all again.
Can you use the duets feature where it homes the farthest left and the farthest right, and then it levels the gantry?
Nah, because to level it, you're adjusting the belt tension on the Core XY.
Oh, all right. It wasn't that called Cloud Print? He says.
I don't know.
Maybe it is. I'll type it in the
thingy. Is it Polar 3D?
There's Google Cloud Print from anywhere, print anything.
I think it might be Polar 3D because I know that's one of Bill Steele's.
Polar 3D. Oh yeah, software company offering 3D print from anywhere from any browser.
Yeah, so I think that's it there, because I think it's got a queuing feature. But yeah, can you see it? Yeah. So
Yep.
you've got your belts running in your loops around, tie in fixed point here, and I've got 2 adjustment blocks on the top here that you've got to dial in. And if I remember this right, if you want to raise this side, you have to tighten the block on this side.
Okay.
Or loosen the block on this side. It's a fine line of getting it adjusted right and tensioned right and everything else. And then at Bill Steele's recommendation, I added hard bump stops at the bottom. So once you get it leveled, you want to dial these screws out so that it can't go down so far as to. I've got it to where it's just touching the build tech sheet when it's slammed all the way down.
Okay.
At least that way, you might damage the build tech, but that's $100 and some as opposed to, oh crap, I just tore through the stainless steel belt and that's $500, or $300, whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Oh, I only like that one. All right. Well, I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to say before we close up? It's an hour and a half in. It's Thursday night football time. I don't want to let people. I know people are gonna be like, "I'm out. It's football time." It's what the 2 bird teams, right? Eagles versus somebody today.
Game tonight. Shoot, I gotta go.
Yeah, I want to see it. I'm not that I'm not that into it, but
I was thrilled that I got to see the Eagles win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, and I'm an Eagles fan, but clearly I'm a glutton for punishment. Then I don't. Unlike most Eagles fans, I don't ever expect them to win. I'm just happy when they do.
Yeah.
So I figure it's probably the only Super Bowl I will see in my lifetime. I told my daughter, remember it, because you'll probably never see it happen again.
I like watching the Eagles. They have a good team. I mean, every year it's a good team. Well, yeah. I still think they're good.
What, five people from our starting line are on the injured list right now, including, Wentz. He is the team. Yeah,
he gets injured a lot. Let's just throw that out there. And Nick Foles is injured, so his replacement that normally is healthy is gone.
Yeah, we're kind of hurting.
I think it's a clavicle, and so your normal replacement is on another team and with a broken clavicle. I think is what Nick Foles has right now. So he's not back till later this year. Football's been rough this year. My friend has her fantasy football team had Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger. And I was like, "You're done. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's you're done on your fantasy team." That was 2 people that normally put up points. So, but yeah, all right, enough football time. Yeah, Carl, thank you. It was really nice having you on here. It was good to finally kind of meet you. I didn't get to spend time with you at Murph. Yeah, and
I was so slammed.
And for me, I'm one of those people. I work weddings, so I when people are busy. 1, I don't shove cameras in their faces, and 2, I just don't bother them. It just, it's a force of habit. When I was at Murph, when I saw people who are super busy, I just didn't talk to them, and I looked at stuff. I was very attuned to what was going on. Like, I think my favorite printer, not to say anyone else's printer was worse, was the guy who built his printer with like an IKEA rack and some wood and some rollers and some leftover printer parts. And he was printing, and the prints were coming out great.
Yeah, I heard about that one. I didn't get to see it.
You probably didn't get to see
I heard about a lot of stuff I didn't get to see, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that was like my coolest. I was like, this guy built a printer out of a metal rack and some wood and some printer parts. And you're over here with like super awesome car parts. I'm like, I didn't even get to really see it, and I was only there for a day. So
there's no car parts in there,
Technically, there's bearings, right?
Those aren't. Well, I don't think they're an automotive bearing, so they're not needle bearings.
Damn it. There's an axle in there.
Put needle bearings in, and when I realized the cost and I started thinking about I really didn't need that heavy duty, I just decided against it.
How I do it just said your favorite printer wasn't the White Knight. My favorite printers were White Knight, Railcore, and that crazy printer. And I had my Prusa back here at the Bondtech booth. I had a lot of favorite printers. The White Knight was just the one I didn't get to experience. I looked at it and watched it. I think the 3 times it came by, like the one time you had like a mob, the other time you had Joel interviewing you, and the other time was I was just running around like a crazy maniac. So
I think that's Matt's favorite question to ask. Apparently, Natasha sat down on Fun in the Country Basement at Murph the first on Friday.
Yeah.
Somebody on the stream asked her what her favorite thing she'd seen so far at Murph was. And she's like, I don't know. There's so many cool printers. And he's like, dude, your daughter's on a stream and she's not saying the White Knight is her favorite printer.
Well, you know, it's how it is.
I was like, Natasha, remember that scene in Ghostbusters when they say, if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. I said, if someone asks you what's your favorite printer, the answer is always the White Knight.
Oh, that's the best. All right, Carl, thank you. I appreciate it. It was so awesome having you on. It was good learning more about it. Now I know more, so this is good. And I will challenge myself to start printing some White Knight parts. So I have the links now to everything. I reposted the link to the GitHub. I sent you a little bit of money for the PayPal, so that way you can keep working on it. So
greatly appreciate it.
Hey, man, no problem. It's got to keep supporting the community, man. That's the best part about the printing. It isn't as much the printers as it is the community. It's really cool seeing cool things, and without cool things, there's no excitement. Let me tell you. I mean, if we all had enders, we'd be pretty bored because there's no variety. Now we have variety. It's another something to want, you know, and that's cool. So thank you, Carl. Thanks to everyone in the chat. I'll let you do one last shout out to everyone. So right, go for it. It's all you, Carl.
I'm Carl. I'm part of Knack 3D Designs. You can find me at Knack 3D Designs on Twitter, on YouTube, on Thingiverse, on GitHub. If you haven't entered yet and you're thinking about building a White Knight, go out and watch the All About Belts video. It tells you how to enter the contest to win a stainless steel belt for your printer. And you can, if you want to help support the channel, you can donate through paypal.me/Knack3D Designs.
Nice.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man. We'll have to do it again once, I think once ERF is over and you got printers printing, I'd love to have you on again for some more Q&A, you know. So
sure.
My goal for everyone that's not here, that's just tuning in, is to definitely do more interviews with cool people, because I just like talking about 3D printing, and I don't have a bunch of 3D printer friends in Rockford where I live. So, you know, anytime I can sit down for an hour or 2 hours and just chat 3D printing, I'm a really happy kid, like in a candy store. So I hope to get Chris Freeze on here. We're still trying to work on an all Chris show with like Chris Russell and Chris Riley and Chris Freeze and myself and any other Chris's. I mean,
that sounds like a nightmare stream.
Yeah, which Chris do you want to talk to?
Yeah, hey Chris, what?
We're gonna try it. You know, I'm gonna get. I've been trying to get Zane, for the guy who does all those crazy prints. I wish I had one. Oh, I do.
Did you watch the Edge of Tech this week?
I didn't get a chance.
I forget who the other people were, but they had Neary's on there, and one of the other two guys on the other part of the stream's name was Chris. Every time Jim would ask Chris a question, the other Chris would answer and talk over Neary's. It was terrible.
Yeah, and we want it to be confusing. I think that'll be kind of the fun part of it. We'll actually just put all our names as Chris and not put initials, so people have a hard time. We'll have to all wear the same like black shirt that day and be like, haha.
It'd be funny if StreamYard was too smart and said, sorry, that name is taken.
Ugh, I don't like that. So cool. Well, again, Carl, appreciate it. Everyone check out Carl. He's on Twitter. He's on GitHub. He's on PayPal. He's on YouTube. Definitely go on the YouTube one. Enter the contest. Support the guy. Start printing the printer. I guess that would be my things for next week. I'll start printing at least parts.
Help me improve this thing. Build some so you can find all my problems.
I probably won't find any, but I'll definitely work on the slicer stuff. I do love playing with slicers, so I'll mess around with that. So my winter goal. So everyone, thank you. Good night. Stay out of trouble, and yeah, we'll talk to everyone soon. Eventually. Boom.
Bye, everybody.